participating. The excitement shown from the kids has been nothing short of amazing, and I can't wait to showcase their hard work. Who knows, maybe one of our next great inventors is with us here today. None of this would have been possible without our amazing teachers. I'm going to hand over to our program coordinator, Natasha Moodley, who will introduce our teachers, showcase some of the interesting projects, and hand over certificates to our kids that really deserve it. Over to you, Natasha.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone, parents, learners, guest speakers, Shanice. Welcome to the ceremonial or the closure of our round one that's in line for all our learners. Even though they go back to school on the 15th of February, we'll still be running the Coding and Robotics projects, and it's going to be an exciting year ahead. So thank you to all our teachers. I'd like to introduce Chris Olsen. He was our grade R1 teacher. Hi, Chris.
Hey, everyone, how's it going? Hi, Natasha.
Hi, so yeah, Chris was doing the grade R1 Coding and Robotics. Then we have Geneva and Ndlovu who was doing the grade 2 to 3. Geneva.
Hello, everyone. It's good to be here.
So you guys get to finally see your teachers face to face. This is quite awesome. Irene Quinn did the grade 4 classes. Hi, Irene.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Irene Quinn. I did grade 4, yes.
Thank you, Irene. Sean Muruvan, grade 5.
Hi, everyone. I'm Sean Muruvan. I did the grade 5 coding lesson.
Thank you, Sean. Afakile Sikwebo, good afternoon, welcome. Afakile did the grade 6 classes. Hi, Afakile. I know Afakile was away on holidays, some remote area. Hi, Afakile, hi.
I forgot to unmute myself.
Yeah, so yeah. Boys and girls, that's Mr. Afakile Sikwebo. He was teaching you the grade 6 Coding and Robotics. Alistair Gabriel, grade 7. Hi, Alistair.
Hello, everybody. How are you guys? Nice to be here with you.
Thank you, Alistair. And Riaz Mohammed, sir, did the grade 8. Hi, Riaz.
Hi, guys. Hope all you guys are okay and all of you are safe. And yeah, it's quite exciting to be actually involved in a project of this magnitude, and I'm looking forward to doing lots and lots more programming with you.
Thank you, Riaz. So Riaz and Mr. Brandon Govender did the grade 9 to 10. Hi, Brandon.
Hi, everyone. It was really fun teaching the grade 9 Python programming.
Awesome. Thanks, Riaz and Brandon. So there's much more to come, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. We're going to be coding in Python. We're going to be doing your JavaScript, your web design. So exciting projects coming up ahead from February once you're back at school as well. We'll be launching it over weekends and weekdays. We'll be uploading on YouTube, so you won't miss out on any of the action. We're going to be moving into robotics, where you're going to be coding and with microbits and all the fun things that you're going to build and experiment with and code. So exciting projects ahead of us for 2021. The subject will be piloted in schools as soon as our Minister of Education, Mrs. Angie Mocheka, gazettes it. So it will be piloted this year in a few schools in 2021. So we're all excited at the launch of it and the implementation. So a good, exciting year ahead of us. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, can I ask that Geneva or Chris, Geneva and Irene, would you like to showcase some of your learners' work? Chris, you can go first.
Chris, you are on mute.
There you go. Okay, I'll try to do that with the same level of excitement. So obviously with the grade R's to 1s, we aren't too worried about, and we don't want to get too stuck on syntax and needing to read each and every little thing. So we did a lot of games, a lot of movement games, a lot of jumping up and down and dancing and singing songs and all of that really, really cool stuff. And we spent most of our time in Scratch Junior, which was just absolutely brilliant. We managed to make some games there, do some event-based storytelling, and learn about how the internet works using it as well. And with all of those, we had some other kind of worksheets. We had our learners making their own robots and drawing and designing their own robots, really thinking about input and output and the engineering process. We had Iziyama, the engineer, who was our little character who went through the engineering process and tried to fix problems in her community. So we kind of went on that journey with her as well. Yeah, we had just an incredible amount of fun doing it. And it was really great to hear our learners already learning about how to be safe online, how to build with purpose, and playing on computers and using them and coding is just really, really fun. So I can't wait to see what they put together.
Thanks, Riz. Irene, Mrs. Quinn and Mr. Ndlovu, do you have some of your learners that would just quickly want to showcase their projects?
Sorry, can I speak? Oh, Geneva first.
Good afternoon, everyone. I've got a few learners who try to connect and quickly check if they're here. Miriam, if you're here, Nyasha, or the last one was, I can't remember the other one. Please, let me just quickly check on them. And they can share their screens and showcase what they have. Basically, we were still working on Scratch Junior, and we had firstly, just a movement across the street. That was our entry point. That was our hello program. Then we went on to doing things like a little bit of maths, which was even and odd numbers, where after numbers are thrown on the screen, Elena is able to pick up if someone is ready. It can pick either on the even number or on the odd number. I think we went on from there to doing a game on the maze. We did a maze where we were trying to go through a track, and there were traps here and there, and the learners were able to control their characters so that they can get to where they are supposed to be. That's basically what we did. We had a very nice time. I'm going to check again if Aisha or Miriam is ready to quickly share their screen. Lumbala is also available. If anyone who gets a chance quickly can show what they have.
If we don't have anyone there for the moment, I've seen there is Kaylee Grant, one of our participants, one of our learners. I did see, yep, there she is in there. So if she would like to jump in whilst Geneva's students jump in too, that'll be great.
Sorry, sir. It says host disabled sharing.
I see somebody is sharing their screen right now.
Okay.
Okay, here's Lumbala who's sharing the screen now.
Oh, okay.
while we're struggling with internet connectivity, welcome to South Africa. I honestly would like to say thanks to our teachers. Looking at the work that I've seen online, it's crazy how talented our kids are. And seeing how you guys have developed that, that's amazing.
That's a higher grade.
There we go.
Yeah, Shanice, I think the internet is just not favorable today.
You can open here, talk to them. Hello.
Shanice, you're on
Hello.
mute.
Hello, hi.
Oh, sorry. I was just
Good,
saying
hi.
that I see one of our students really want to showcase her project. And she'd like to talk through what she's learned. Can we give her the floor then? Kaylee, would you
Hello.
like to talk to us about what you've learned?
Hello.
Hello. Hi, I'm Kaylee. I am 6 years old. My teacher is Mr. O.
That's wonderful. And can you tell us about what you've learned?
I learned about the coding
in that one.
and also on Scratch Genius.
That's awesome. I
Coding
think
is speaking the right languages for computers.
yes. And I think the fact that you are so young and doing such cool things with a computer, maybe you're going to be our next inventor. What do you want to be when you grow up?
I don't know.
That's okay. You still have time.
Atara, keep quiet. Yeah.
Say thank you to Mr. O.
Thank you, Mr. O.
Oh, thank you, Kaylee. It was always so great to hear Kaylee talking about. She just knows what coding is so nicely. She would speak about, what a robot is. And we also spoke, do you remember about how we stay safe online? Do you want to say that again?
How do you say safe? Is for stop and think. How does it make you feel? A is for ask. And F is for friends. And A is for everyone.
Yay, well done. And that's one of the ways that we can stay safe online. Sure, Kelly, you've done so well to remember, to listen, and to even teach others in our class. So thank you so much for doing that, Kaylee.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think in the interest of time and just because of all these kids who have joined us, Natasha, would you like to take over and hand these kids their well-deserved certificates?
Yeah, sure, Shanice, thank you. And thank you to all the phenomenal teachers that offered their time during the holidays to make sure that this project was successful and will still be running successfully this year. So a big thank you goes out to all the teachers, Mr. O, Alistair, Mr. Brandon, all of you guys are just phenomenal. And thank you to our kids and our learners for participating and joining us throughout the holiday. It was absolutely phenomenal. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to launch the certificates. Shanice, can you see my screen?
No, not yet.
Okay, can you see now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, boys and girls, we'd really like to thank you for your participation and joining us in the holiday classes. It was phenomenal to be working with you and meeting you every day, and your parents as well. Thank you for allowing your learners or your kids to join us. And without further ado, we'd like to just call out the names of these participation, and the certificates would be emailed to all of you. Nika Kanameyer, well done. Rory Sang Tsikolo, well done to you. Thank you for your participation. Audrey Longo. Kaylee Grant. Kaylee, well done. You're just phenomenal. We're gonna go further this year with everything that's involving coding and robotics. So well done to you, Kaylee. Sambarashe Maramba, congratulations and thank you for your participation. Blessing Beloy. Micah Willenberg. Kungwao Mazaka, so apology for pronunciation. Kapeta Daniel, well done to you. Theodore Sello. Chevelle Mapa. Unamanda Magwede. Caitlin Mini. Khotso Casey, well done to you. Cherise Barnes. Lumbala Daniel. Megan Lowe. Fatima Vasanwala, Emma Ampau, Nuria Nurdin, Amy Koch, well done. Khotso Tsike, Nolwazi Makalima, well done to you. Afna Ampau, Nathaniel Maramba, Carissa Ampau, can you hear me, Shanice?
Yes, we can. Thank you. You're back.
Okay, Mohammed Hanif, Ramaketsekane Nkone, Ariel Takliu, Adam Reinica, well done. Mabocha Ramalepe, HIM, the notorious HIM. Mariam Rawat, Leviwe Nkonyana, James Roland, William Roland, Vutali Ramotaga, Nyasha Shumba, well done. Menentle Gomere, Christina Rangoaka, Kanye Munkulisi, Chevelle Mapa, Mohammed Nordin, Sipukazi Simamane, Ellie Renee Tiklau, Alex Jacobs, Letabo Machi, Pakula Tseko, Ishmael Deda, Nsidiwe Nkanya, apology for pronunciation there, Londani Makwede, Jonathan Lepoto, Jordan Jenna, Dupree Aaron, Tandeka Gumede, Obichi Dube, Matthew Roberts, Ipendulwe Sibara, Okushle Kakaza, Megan Lowe, Solomon Mangoye, Jaden Fenter, Ratabile Moahi, well done to you as well, Karabo Matima, Emil Tulsi Persad, Zintle Ndala, Emil Tulsi Persad, Lebohang Mashiane, Noah Titus, Shaden Govender, Somple Potolo, Luzuko Ndlovu, well done. Hadia Adam Aisha Badurali, Mohammed Badurali, Siamo Boroko, Katleko Mokwena, Ntando Kabi, Mark Patrick Mosloba, Leviwe Nkonyana, Liam Roberts, Onele Rona Moetsi, Iniko Choke, Rory Sang Marima, Orabile Motene, Piwokushle Ndai, Simran Siyosankar, Shakira Barnes, Boshlatle Seritsane, Sayan Naidu, Kabelo Mokwena, Tinovimba Inyengere, Godi Roane Kwele, Anisu Maramba, James Rowland, William Rowland, Leah Jacobs, Jaden Mapfunde, Adefola Konimi, Daniel Okungoya. And ladies and gentlemen, those are our participants for the first round of the Coding and Robotics. And thank you for your participation. And we're really going to go further with all this. And we've had ages from, 6 years up to 17, 18 years old. So our program is really going to be sort of dynamic and open to all age groups. We're going to go full on into coding and robotics as well. It's going to be continuous for 2021. And we'd really love the learners and your kids to participate and just join us for the rest of 2021. And I must mention, Shanice, these are learners from all over South Africa. We've had learners from Western Cape, Eastern Cape, Northwest, Gauteng, Western Cape. So it's throughout South Africa, and it's just phenomenal about the participation and the commitment that the parents and learners have shown throughout the project. So thank you, boys and girls, and thank you, parents, for keeping them going and busy in our program during this holiday. Thanks, Shanice.
Thank you, Natasha. I see that a lot of the kids in the chat are so excited with their certificates, and you deserve it. So well done to all our kids, all our teachers. I really can't wait to see what you've got going next. With that being said, I'd like to welcome our very first speaker for today. It gives me great pleasure to introduce our first speaker, Sibongiseni Thotsejane, but most people call her Dr. Sibz. Dr. Sibz, are you with us?
Yes, I'm with you. Thank you so much for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you at all. Dr. Sibz is the co-founder and CIO of FlavaLite Innovation. Her passion for technology started out when she was a kid from a rural community in the Eastern Cape who loved playing the Mario Brothers. She was determined to learn how to make these games herself. She's come a long way since then, having completed her part of her PhD studies at Google in Silicon Valley. She's won numerous awards, and she's also on a presidential 4IR commission. She's got a lot of ongoing projects ranging from big data to emerging tech, and finally gets to live out her dream this year by going into gaming. Today, she'll be talking to us about big data and cybersecurity and basically how to be safe online. Welcome, Dr. Sibz.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, Honorable Minister, to Dr. Marianne Croak, to the founder of African Teen Geeks, Commissioner Lindiwe Matlali. Good afternoon to the Africa Teen Geeks team, Ms. Shanice, Gordon, and the entire team. Thanks to the teachers, thanks to the learners. We are so inspired and we're so amazed. It seems as if Kaylee took my entire presentation. I was going to share about how to be safe online. I have now a new leader who's taken over from Africa Teen Geeks. We really are inspired and we are thankful. We thank the parents also for letting the kids to blossom and to enable them to just start this journey early on. My topic is really about data in a simplistic way, and also cybersecurity in a simplistic way for the kids. So data is information. So like your phone number, your ID number. So I'd like to urge the young ones, always keep your cell number online and offline and your ID number safe. Keep it, because one of the key challenges of cyber threats and also cybersecurity is actually social engineering. It's more about people snooping on your things, snooping on your email address, snooping on your ID number. So one of the first things is about social engineering and making sure that you are safe both online and offline, because the same people we are offline are the same people we are online. So keep that relationship like that. One of the things I would like to encourage the young ones is that also keep your parents' information safe. So try to make sure that you don't give your mommy's phone number to everyone and anyone, and also just not share that freely, because in this era and these times that we find ourselves, the phone number could be used as a banking information, could be a banking account for online banking. So you don't want your mommy's phone number everywhere without her permission and also without her consent. So one of the things we'd encourage the youngins is that ensure that also encourage your friends and yourself how you behave in terms of digital netiquette, that you don't become rude and you don't become disrespectful to others, both online and offline. So make sure that you don't bully others. Make sure you don't say mean things and think that these are strangers. They are humans, they're like your brothers and sisters, but they just happen to be on a digital platform. So make sure also if others are mean or rude or disrespecting to you, make sure that you don't respond, because you may find yourself starting a war or a Twitter war or a digital cyberbullying cycle that it will be difficult or challenging for you to unravel yourself out of that unnecessary cyberbullying war or digital war. One of the other things that I think would be very keen, and I would like to share some of my personal stories, is that my parents, because I came from a rural place, said, we wanted to be a doctor one day. And I'm thinking, I don't like blood. It's so yucky and it's so anal. I don't want that. But I do want to make computer games, and I do want to make, I want to learn how to do this. How did Mario get into that computer screen? How did they get there? I want to be that person who makes that possible. So I said, okay, mommy, I'll be a doctor for computers then. I'll be a doctor for big data analytics then. So I was fortunate then to spend a trip to go to Google Inc. in Silicon Valley in San Francisco to learn about data and how to secure it, how to make it safe, how to use technology to encrypt it, to make it, if it's personal and private, then how to make it unreadable to those who are a threat to this data. And also how to understand the difference that open and public data, how to share that and make sure that there's a difference between this kind of information. So I think on that note, I want to encourage you that you can be anything you want. You are fortunate that you've got Africa Teen Geeks and you've got the teachers, you've got the lecturers, you've got the parents, that you can be anything you want, absolutely. I ended up being a doctor who's now gonna start programming computer games. Now, this is the year. We started with the concepts, we started with the music videos, and we have shot one and completed it. We're working on the second one, and we are converting those into proudly African games from the rural areas to the world. So the sky is the baseline for you. One last thing that is very challenging, I want to challenge you a little bit to the youth. One of the things you can ask the parents is that as much as you've got antivirus software and anti-spamware on your computers, do the parents have it for the mobile phones and for the tablets? Because it's easy for us to remember for the computer, but the cell phone has become as useful as a computer. It's like a mobile computer now. And your tablet for mommies and daddies are also using antivirus, and it must always be current, the latest version of the antivirus and the anti-spamware. That's the only technical information I'm gonna challenge you to challenge your mommies and daddies to upgrade and update all the antivirus on the mobile phone, on the tablet, and on the computer to make sure it's the latest version, because the patches and also the vulnerabilities have been found for that. I will leave it at this moment. I'll welcome one question.
Is there anyone who has, we're just going to take one. Is there anyone who has a question about being a smart digital citizen? Megan, I see you've raised your hand very quickly, so please do let us know.
What I want to ask, is it hard to be a coder sometimes?
Okay, so for me, when I was growing up, like I've never even seen a computer, like I've never seen it. So now I went to my university, I have to learn for the first time how to switch on a computer and play and actually start programming. So you have to believe in yourself. If a person like me, who was 10 times backwards, who didn't even have Africa Teen Geeks, can actually program a game. I'm able to program a calculator even from scratch. I'm even able to make missiles in a war game. So from not knowing how to switch on a computer to being able to code games, if it's possible for me, it's definitely possible for you after you've done this course with Africa Teen Geeks. It's a yes. It's not that challenging if you put your mind and your hard work and put in those hours and do all your Africa Teen Geeks assignments and your homework, then you'll be able to do it.
I see a lot of kids have questions for you. Will you be able to take one more?
Yes, sure.
Okay. I see someone, Jaden. Jaden, you had your hand up.
Okay, hello.
Yes, we can.
Okay, so I've got a question. Okay. If you're going to behave for robotics and coding on Saturday at Tunisia and user, is it that true?
If you're going to behave?
Sorry, he wants to know if you'll be having the robotics lessons at Tunisia in Pretoria this year.
Oh, okay. So it's not technically for Dr. Sibz. I will answer with saying that we're very cautious to do in-person things again. As Natasha mentioned before, there will be a phase 2 of the Coding and Robotics School, which will probably run online. Okay, I think that's all the time we have for questions. Dr. Sibz, I honestly have learned a lot from you today, and I'm sure our kids have too. I think one of the key things that you said today was it's very difficult to separate your online self from your real person self. And I think you need to be smart about what data you put out there about yourself, because ultimately it's very hard to do something. You don't meet people without Googling them first nowadays, or you don't look at their profile or their Facebook or their Instagram. So what you put out on social media is very, very tied to who you are as a brand.
Thank you. Agreed. Yeah,
I think so too. So Dr. Sibz, with that being said, on behalf of Africa Teen Geeks, all our kids and our parents, I'd like to sincerely thank you for joining us today. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me, and thanks to the parents and the teachers and the young geeks.
Thank you very much. With that said, I'm going to hand over to Africa Teen Geeks CEO, Lindiwe Matlali, who will introduce our next inspiring guests. Over to you, Lindiwe.
Hi. Thank you so much. I can't see myself. Can you see me?
I can see you.
Okay. So thank you so much. First of all, I would like to acknowledge our guest, Sibz, a very good friend of mine, cleverest, one of the cleverest people I'm lucky enough to know, for taking the time and joining in your busy schedule and to engage with our children. I am not sure, Shanice, have our guests joined?
It doesn't appear so, Lindiwe.
Okay, so okay, the minister is here. Okay, I can see her. I can see her. I just wanted to check if Marianne was here. I can't see her, so she may join just at exact talk, but I don't see her. I will just also just text to make sure that she's here before I can introduce her. I'll just text her quickly and just ask her. All right, so thank you so much. And first of all, since the minister is here, we would like to acknowledge the minister, Honorable Mrs. Ndabeni-Abrahams, and to thank her for her time, for her to come and engage with the children. We know how busy she is, and we really appreciate for her to take the time and come to inspire the kids. And I'm really also excited and grateful for Dr. Marianne, and I am excited because I know that she's also one of the people that I look up to. So a big part of the reason why we did this program was to try to get the kids, especially that are sitting at home and waiting whether the schools is going to open or not, and give them something that they can do that is, exciting and around learning how to code, because learning how to code is really important. It's not just about, we're not trying to turn every child into a programmer or a software engineer, but we know that every career, whatever that is that career will require you to have some knowledge of tech. And for you to be innovative, I believe that if you can know how to code, you will be able to bring technology in every sector. I was talking to my daughter the other day around when you go to the hospital, because I've been forcing them to code, and she was like, from when they were very young, she says, I'm forcing them. I feel like I'm inspiring and encouraging her to code. And she was saying to me, I don't even want to be a software programmer. I want to be a doctor. And I said, exactly. But then when you go to the doctors and they put you in an X-ray, who did that, the X-ray, the programming behind the X-ray that will give you the results? Somebody had to write a code. So you had a doctor working with a programmer to come up with all the technology that you see in medicine today. So whether, it doesn't matter what career you want, if you know how to code and maybe you're using that X-ray as a doctor and it's not giving you the result, it's not working that well, nothing stops you from improving it, because you have both the skills of the medical doctor as well as the skills or the skill of a coder. So one of the person that we have today, who's Dr. Marianne Croak, has been somebody I have been looking up to for so many years, from afar. Dr. Marianne Croak is currently the Vice President of Engineering at Google, and she is the person who actually developed voice over IP. All of you kids have been able to join in the classes using Zoom the person who made the technology that created that made companies like Zoom and Skype and even Microsoft Teams possible is this woman that you're going to meet and engage today. And that for me is important because we want you to see that you don't have to be a superwoman or a super, like having this supernatural, I don't know, skills or anything. You need to have the passion and the commitment to be able. So, and our vision is for you to learn from somebody like Dr. Marianne, but also meet her early. I was like, I said to her a few months ago when we engaged, and I said to her, if I had met Marianne when I was 10, I probably, the career I chose, that's not the career I would have chosen. I never knew she existed. I never knew the work she had already done, even by the time that I was 10. So, and to see a Black person and a Black woman doing these amazing things made me to sort of see myself differently and believe that I can do that. And that is why we decided to bring her here so that you can see her and be inspired by her. But also we had, the Honorable Minister Stella Ndabeni as the minister who's responsible for the fourth industrial revolution, somebody who's not just responsible, but passionate about it, to also talk to you and show you the opportunities that you can get, but also what the government is doing for you young people that we are inspiring and encouraging to be innovative, the opportunities that she and her department and the government are creating so that you can excel and one day, be somebody like Marianne and sit and talk to, thousands of kids and talk to them about how they can change the trajectory for Africa, because we don't have enough innovative tech, not because we don't have the innovators, we do. It's just that there isn't enough opportunity and also the exposure that those young Einstein or lost Einstein need for them to become the next Marianne, even the next minister. So it gives me great pleasure to introduce you to Vumani first. Vumani is a very good friend of mine who is a journalist from the BBC, and he is the one who's going to be facilitating the discussion between the fireside chat between Honorable Minister and Dr. Marianne Croak. Over to you, Vumani.
I was just unmuting myself. Can you hear me? There we go. Hi, thank you very much, Lindiwe. Good afternoon to everybody, boys and girls, and to our esteemed guests. My name is Vumani Mkhize, and I am a media practitioner, and I'll be facilitating today's discussion, which I'm very, very excited to do. So our discussion today essentially will touch upon technology, innovation, and possibly how we can inspire you as the young generation in terms of being able to take up careers in tech. And as Lindiwe has stated, today we are joined by two esteemed guests. First, we have the Minister of Communications here in South Africa, Ms. Stella Ndabeni-Abrahams, and indeed she has been a champion of the fourth industrial revolution, or 4IR, and she's also been promoting digital technologies throughout the scope of her work. So Minister Ndabeni-Abrahams, thank you very much for your time, and we really appreciate you joining us today.
Thank you so much, Kabazela, and thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Do we have Dr. Croak with us already? Has she joined Lindiwe before I introduce her?
Yes,
Yes,
she
yes, I'm here. Hi, I'm here. Unfortunately, I'm having trouble with my camera, but I'll keep working at it to see if I can get it to start.
Okay, that's okay. As long as we have you online, Dr. Croak, welcome. So Dr. Croak is the Vice President of Site Reliability Engineering for Ads, Corporate Engineering, and YouTube at the media giant Google. It's a big title for someone who is a giant in her field. Dr. Marianne Croak has over 200 patents to her name. She's been working in the tech industry for a number of years, and she has been working for some of the biggest companies in the sector. Now, kids, I would say if you're looking for a role model in tech, you know, Dr. Marion Croak is certainly someone whom you should look up to. Her innovations have quite literally changed the world and the way that we communicate today. We're using Zoom right now, and it's an innovation that she pioneered and she created. So I'm very excited to welcome her, and I'm very happy to hear her thoughts on that as well. So welcome, Dr. Marion Croak.
Thank you.
And last but not least, we have you, our audience, and the youth. I'm told that we've got a number of participants, not only here in South Africa, but from around the continent. So I welcome you, and I hope that today's chat will ignite something within you, that one day you too would want to be a Marion Croak, or become an Elon Musk, or Mark Zuckerberg, in fact. So I hope that you will learn from today's discussion, and that it'll inspire you to innovate and to create innovative solutions to some of the problems that we may encounter here on the African continent. I'll also provide an opportunity for you to ask some questions near the tail end of our discussion. Okay, that was the introduction. Let's get to the meat and bones of our discussion today. Minister Ndabeni-Abrahams, I will start off with you. We know you here in South Africa as someone who champions the cause of 4IR. And 4IR essentially looks at trends such as robotics, virtual reality, machine learning, artificial intelligence, and how we can utilize them in the day-to-day operations of our work and lives. But here in South Africa, are we ready for 4IR? Is it something that is that we can implement and work on? What's your take on that, Minister? Oh, unmute, sorry, let's.
Thank you so much, Kabazela. I guess the host forgot that I need permission to speak to yourselves, but I like the control measures. Yes. And allow me to say good afternoon to everyone who's there, Lindiwe, the organizer, Marion, and everyone who's there, but most importantly, my friends, the young ones themselves, the future of our country. You are asking a very important question, Kabazela, that is South Africa. Are we there, or it's something that we're still thinking about? Unfortunately, it's not something that we can say we have 2 years to think about, because it is something, innovation is something that just get to be imposed on people and generations. It is not different with the fourth industrial revolution, as we have seen with the previous revolutions. Although we were not able to talk much about the previous ones, now we're living in the fourth industrial revolution era, which is just about the convergence of the physical, the biological, and everything connected. And you are saying, are we ready, South Africa? I am confident that we are ready as South Africa, which is why we talk of building a capable army, which is why, again, President Ramaphosa established the Presidential Commission on the fourth industrial revolution to say, we don't want to just jump into an era whereby we're only looking at consumption of technologies for those that are early adopters, but to say, what kind of skills, what kind of a nation do we envisage in order to leverage in the fourth industrial revolution? So yes, we are ready. That's why we are the first country in Africa to have a blueprint towards the fourth industrial revolution.
Okay, I'll let you elaborate on the blueprints shortly, but let's bring in Dr. Marion Croak into the discussion. Marion, Africa is always seen as a continent with massive potential. We're always seen as being up and coming, but unfortunately, potential without opportunity, it usually falters. What can African governments, institutions, or even companies do to create a sustainable ecosystem for innovation?
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with economics, to be honest with you. And I think there needs to be some stimulation in providing, the foundational aspects of education to students and making that accessible. But then you also need, I think, to be able to distribute technology in an equitable way to everyone so that they'll have the tools readily available. Every child should have a laptop. I believe every child should be able to go onto the internet and be able to explore all the information that's available to them. And that takes, you know, quite a bit of increased funding, but I think it's absolutely necessary to do that in order for children to be stimulated and to understand more about the wider world and not just something that's very local to them.
Sure. And growing up in your educational experience, Marion, were you given that opportunity to understand more about what's happening in the world beyond the classroom?
Yes, you know, I was fortunate to have grown up in New York City, which is like just the most interesting place in the world to live, almost. Being in a city, you can explore many things. I also was exposed to people from many different cultures. And I think, you know, that helps a lot. We always focus on STEM, but I also think it's important to have a liberal arts education to be able to appreciate poetry and art and just things that will expand your mind and allow you to think in different ways.
Mm-hmm. And Minister Abrahams, you're in government, so you are essentially directly involved in terms of how our country is run, particularly from a communications and tech point of view. Do you believe enough is being done to foster technology and innovation within South Africa?
Well, Kabazele, we have not done much. That's something that we really have to acknowledge. As we talk about the opportunities that are presented by the fourth industrial revolution, we feel like as South Africa, we have not really tried to exploit that opportunity. Although, as much as we are sad that we have COVID that continues to take people away from us, there's also been an opportunity where we saw most innovators then finding expression in terms of the markets and the solutions that were needed for the country. We have not done much. Earlier on, I said we had established a commission that has came up with a blueprint document, but that does not mean anything if we have a nation that is not digital literate, that must have an appreciation of the kind of the economy that we are driving. Marion makes an important point to say, as she talks about the key subjects that we should focus on, she adds that that is important on arts, which is something that as the country we have not invested much on it. We thank the likes of the Teen Geeks that are encouraging our young women to make sure that they participate in the space, be it coding, but just driving that iSTEAM project that we are talking about. And this is why we are also in a process of reviewing our curricula, both from at the early childhood environment up to the tertiary institution, including looking at the people that are out of school, because most of the focus has been for those that are in the employ or those that are in the classrooms. But reality is that this affects all of us as citizens of the country. This is why we are reviewing our legislations. As I said, we have not done much. This is why we are reconfiguring our portfolios to say, this requires us to collaborate with each other. It is not just a Department of Communications matter to drive the fourth industrial revolution in order to benefit the people of South Africa. It requires the entire government to create a system that is agile and appreciates the realities of innovation. And without much investment towards entrepreneurship and innovation, without much investment towards research and development, we are not going to see it. And this is what we are trying to address. Last week, I was with my counterpart, Minister Nzimande, whom committed also to say both at the skilling level, we've got to utilize the funds that we have to make sure that we champion or we direct the country to the right direction. But at the center of that, what do people do then? COVID is making people lose jobs. We have seen that. Companies are adopting technology, but these technologies are not helping create other jobs in certain instances, whilst there are new opportunities that are created. But because we are looking into the entire ecosystem, this is why we came up with the Digital Economy Master Plan that is looking at industrializing the industry and to say these are the opportunities as we encourage young people to undertake those iSTEAM projects, make sure that they take coding and everything on critical thinking. We make sure that they stimulate innovation and challenge the status quo. Earlier on, Kabazela, you said you are here to advise about the jobs that the young people must take when they grow up. But really, it is young people that are going to be channeling the country into the new jobs, because we're talking about people who are born tech savvy. All we have to do as government is to create an enabling environment through policy and legislation, avail connectivity for them, but on top of that, we make sure that we avail the technologies and let the young people take charge of their future.
Thank you very much, Minister. Marion, innovation is something that has been crucial for you in terms of your career. And you also have over 200 patents to your name, and including this very platform that we're using right now, Zoom, is being made possible by your own innovation. Talk to us about what Voice over Internet Protocol is and what sparked the creation of it.
Sure. So the voiceover, it's really the voiceover IP. So you think of yourself as having the internet. And then when the internet first came into being, people just transferred things like, movies and what you would call data. And they thought of voice as something unique and special because you have to have a lot of tuning and reliability. And they didn't think that voice could go over the internet. And so the work that I did with a team, I collaborated very much with a team to get this work done, is just to take voice and work as hard as we could to make it possible to send it over the internet. And that's how we're talking today. In the beginning, it used to fail all the time. You would have a conversation, you couldn't hear people. There would be a lot of static and what you call jitter. And so we kept working at it, and finally we got it to a state where it was reliable and you could use it every day. No one actually noticed that until really the pandemic. I mean, people who worked in technology and on phone networks definitely always used it, but the everyday person didn't even notice it until finally we had to actually use it the way that we're using it today.
Sure. It's amazing because it's become such a crucial part of our life. We are using VoIP right now. I mean, how does that make you feel? Are you so proud of the achievement that you've been able to do?
I'm just relieved that it works because there was so much work done in making sure that it would be reliable. So I'm just happy that, fortunately all that work was done and it's very useful now.
Sure. And on innovation, why has it been such a crucial part of your career? Why have you been so geared towards just creating and innovating in terms of the scope of work that you do?
When I was a child, I think I was happy, but I was also disturbed by the state of the world. And I still remain that way. I'll look at things and it just doesn't seem right. Sometimes it's simple things like, the amount of car accidents there are, the amount of poverty that there is in the world. And I'm always asking myself, what are the things that we can do to change it? How do we make the world a better place? And I think if you realize that things don't have to stay the way that they are, but you can actually change it, it just creates this energy in you that causes you to think, okay, what do we have to do to get it to change? And that's kind of mindset that I try to walk around with in my everyday life.
That's amazing. And your innovation has quite literally changed the world, and we're very proud of the work that you've done. Minister Ndabeni-Abrahams, I'll come back to you. We've just heard the innovations that Dr. Croak has done in her career. What can we do here in South Africa and in the African continent to ensure that we create an environment where we can produce people of the same caliber as Dr. Croak?
Thank you so much for that, Kabazil, and to Marion, who explained very well her passion and what led to her being involved in innovation. Of course, earlier on, I mentioned the fact that we have not done well in terms of investing in critical components. I then spoke of the investment towards education in specific subjects around iSTEAM, which is your innovation, science, technology, arts, maths, and everything that we're talking about. Because as much as we talk about the fourth industrial revolution, it is also a platform-driven economy that requires lots of content that goes over the internet, as she was talking about VoIP. Therefore, you need to make sure that you're not only focusing on technology, but you're focusing on the creativity by the people that must utilize the technology. That's the first thing. The second thing is to make sure that we create a conducive environment for innovators to be able to innovate and stay in Africa without them having to go out to seek funds. Hence, I spoke of the need to increase in our investments in terms of research and innovation. Because right now, we really do not have a very satisfactory investment that we've made towards innovation, which is what all governments in Africa are prioritizing now as we approved our Africa digital strategy to say it is high time that Africa does that it's supposed to do for her people. The last thing again is to make sure that the SMMEs that we have are also given access to market, which is something that has not been there. We are a country and a continent that consumes a lot, that really shies away from giving an opportunity to local innovators. Therefore, even if one is innovative, how we do things, for example, if we're looking for an education solution, we're gonna go for a tender with a specific specification that confines the thinking and innovation that could have helped not only government, but the nation to bring up very dynamic solutions that can help us resolve the challenges that we are faced with. So the need for mind shift is really required. Hence, we talk of a radical leadership conscientization to say what kind of politicians or regulators are required in the fourth industrial revolution. And at the center of that is that government and the private sector must understand that we operate in a very agile environment that does not need bureaucracy, and therefore let us challenge the status quo. And these are the things that as I said, that if we do away with some and introduce those things, I think as Africa, we can really change the status quo. But at the center of that is attending to children when they are young at the early childhood development phases, whereby you give them, as we do, every time, Kabazela, if you go home, your younger sister is the one that will teach you how to program your phone or whatever device that you have. All we have to do is to focus on the three components, the three A's that we focus on in communications. That becomes availability, accessibility, and affordability, which is what all governments working with the private sector must focus on. And Africa will become a better place for her own citizens.
All right. You mentioned a very interesting thing there in terms of introducing tech to when people are still quite young. Dr. Croak, how important is that, being able to be introduced to technology and coding and all other aspects of technology while you're still young and your mind is still fertile and willing to absorb as much information as possible?
I think it's critical, actually. You know, I think it's not just a luxury, but I think when you're younger, you're not as intimidated by knowledge, new knowledge, and you absorb things, as you pointed out, much quicker. And I think what happens as you get older, you become afraid of learning new things, and it seems much more complicated than it really is. So just being exposed to it and being familiar with it and being able to kind of conquer your fears about it when you're young, I think is essential.
Sure. And Dr. Croak, you've mentioned the work that you've done at VoIP. Currently, your role at Google, what does it essentially entail?
So I'm doing two things right now. First of all, I'm looking at the reliability of services and products that Google has. I'm sure all of you are familiar with YouTube. And part of my job at Google is to keep YouTube up and running so that it's always available for people to use. Occasionally it will go down, but it's very rare. So we make sure that it stays in a healthy state, so it's always usable. I also support other products and services at Google. The other thing that I'm doing that is very interesting is I'm working looking at the state of artificial intelligence at Google and trying to make sure that it's done in a very responsible way, an ethical way. Artificial intelligence is like the ability to automate decision-making, and things like, say, when you're watching YouTube, you get recommendations. There's a technology behind that that's called artificial intelligence. It's like a software that's getting to know who you are, and then they'll make predictions about what you want to do next, and they'll help you make decisions. And so we're looking to make sure that whatever that technology, wherever it's used, it's being used in a fair way, in a safe way, and it's not biased or creating more problems than it should.
Sure. In the previous session, they were actually talking about internet safety. What are some of the unethical ways that people can use artificial intelligence, Marion?
Yeah, so, you know, unfortunately, the artificial intelligence depends on the information that you provide to set up what we call the models for making the decision. And if that information and the assumptions around it are faulty, then you can really get yourself into trouble. So, for example, there was an application that tried to figure out why certain students weren't doing well in school. And they looked at absentee rate, they looked at homework that was missed, and they were making determinations based on that. What they didn't look at was whether or not that child was hungry when they came to school, you know, which affects how well you learn, whether or not there was disturbance going on in their homes, which also would impact the way that they felt and behaved in schools. So to penalize sometimes a child because they're not performing well without really understanding why is a mistake. And so, like, any algorithm or decision-making tool has to take into account all the factors that are important and relevant.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I just want to make sure that I leave enough time for some of the kids to ask some questions near the end, because I'm sure many of them have got plenty of questions to ask both you, Marion, and the Minister. I'll just ask one more question before I throw it to them. I'll start off with you, Minister Ndabeni-Abrahams. We've got a number of kids from South Africa and around the continent watching today. What advice can you give them, particularly young girls? Some people who want to follow in your footsteps. What advice would you give them?
One advice first, which is something they get to experience at home, and they are not told that this is what works, which is what scares them when they think about the STEM subjects, the science, technology, and engineering subjects. And their mothers are doing it at home. They're running the finances. So women are better accountants. That's the first thing. Therefore, you shouldn't shy away from studying maths. They should know that they've inherited this from their mothers, so they can go and challenge the boys out there. The second thing is that they don't have to be big to be the best. All they require is to focus, use technology and the Wi-Fi that they have. Of course, I am aware that we're still experiencing challenges in terms of connectivity, challenges in terms of affordability, and this is what we are trying to address as government. But those that have access for now, which is why we have also zero rated the educational content, they must make use of that, even if they're using the mother's cell phone. They must make use of that to study and empower themselves with the knowledge and let them play the game. The nice thing, Kavazela, is that young people are not corrupted yet. They are not comfortable because this is what they know. They don't know. Therefore, it's easy to be innovative. They just play, and then you guys that are learned and structured, you come and structure all of that innovation, because this is what the standards say. But they are very innovative when they are young, when they don't know what they are doing. They just see the output of what they did. And as I said, they shouldn't shy away from science, from maths and science. That they can do. It's that stereotype thinking that at home they are told, no, it's a man's thing. Hey, girls, you're better than the boys. You can do this thing. Just challenge as you challenge your siblings at home. Make sure that as you go to classroom, of course, I know we do the Zoom classes at times, but this is what it teaches us, that indeed, as the young people, the world is yours. And for South Africa and the world to prosper, it requires you and your innovation. And the only way is to step up and occupy your space. Thank you so much.
Those are definitely words to live by. Step up and occupy the space. I hope you're listening, youngsters, or wherever you are. Those are incredible words from the minister. Thank you very much. Dr. Croak, over to you. What advice would you give the youngsters today, especially the girls who want to follow in your footsteps and hopefully one day change the world as well with whatever innovations that they may come up with?
I would say the most important thing is don't give up. You know, you're going to meet hard times. Sometimes you're not going to do well in a class. You won't like your teacher. Something will be, very, very challenging, and you'll think, I can't do this. Just don't give up, keep going. Sometimes you think you have to be like straight A, get everything right, come from a good family, have an ideal background, and you don't. You can zigzag your way into a situation. The most important thing is your mind and how you're, trying to stimulate your mind and how you're thinking. So when you meet something that's hard in your life, whether it's at home, at school, or just in the world, just think about what can you do to change it? What can you do to make it better? You have that power inside of you to do that. So don't give up, because it's going to get challenging. It will. But don't get discouraged.
Sure. Thank you very much, Dr. Croak. Yeah, those are also wonderful words to live by. I mean, in life, we always encounter challenges, but it's how you actually rise up and meet those challenges is how it's going to determine your future and your success. So hopefully, we'll, from the conversation we've had today, we'll have a number of African innovators who will, one day create something that's going to change the way that we do things here in the continent and around the world. All right, so I'm going to open up the floor now to people within the meeting to ask any question related to our discussion today, and just gonna allow people to pick up their hands and ask a question. Who's going to be the next African innovator? Who wants to ask Dr. Marion Croak how she made VoIP?
Megan has a question.
Megan, okay, please go ahead, Megan.
What I want to ask, can you code something very big with a very simple program in language?
Okay, Dr. Croak, would you like to take that? Can you code something very big,
Yeah.
simple program?
Yeah, that's a great question. And what we look for in software is simplicity, not complexity. So you can do amazing things with a very simple program. And I think that's a great way of looking at it, because as I said, simplicity in software is incredible. Someone can do something and take 10,000 lines of code and be very proud of that, but another person can come along and do it with 10 lines of code, and that's even better. So definitely keep thinking the way that you're thinking, because that's a great question.
And why is simplicity so crucial, Doctor? If you can just expand on that.
Sure. So simplicity means that you can actually maintain the code a lot better. At Google, we're always grappling with the fact that people code something and they've made it very complicated, and then they leave or go on to another career, and then we have to take care of that code and no one knows how to because it's so complicated. Or you want to change the code and you don't know exactly where to go because it's just so many lines. So if you can make something simple, it just helps so much in the future, and it helps you be able to change it and enhance it, and it makes someone able to maintain it once you move on. So keep thinking that way, because it's great.
Yeah, okay, that's a great question then, eh? Simplicity is key when it comes to coding, guys. Shanice, if you can help me with the next question, please.
I see Orabile. Would you like to ask your question?
Orabile, do you have a question? Okay.
There you go. Unmuted. I don't hear anything, so maybe we should move to Bohlale.
Okay. Can you unmute them?
She is unmuted. I can see her on the video. Bohlale, do you have a question? I'm not sure. Okay, Karabo, you have a question.
My question is for Dr. Marian Croak. How many apps have you used, or how many apps have you created?
Apps, to be honest with you, I use many apps, and I guess you could say that the work that I've done sometimes serves as the foundation for some of those apps. But I don't even go to the store anymore. I'm always ordering things online, including groceries and getting car service from apps, ordering almost everything. During COVID, I have really been very protective of myself, and my use of applications have exploded, including entertainment services. I watch a lot of documentaries from Netflix and Amazon and streaming services. So I'm definitely a user of applications. And then I think a lot of those applications depend on some of the things that I've been able to work on in my career.
If you can just expand on the work that you have done that has become the background for some of the apps that we see now. What are some of those apps that we use on a day-to-day basis that you may have done work on before, Dr. Croak?
Yeah, so I think I've mentioned YouTube. There are many applications that I've worked on in my career that have to do with communication and the way that you actually use your phone and the ability that you have to do special things with communication. Like, for example, many of you may know that you can easily donate to a cause by simply pressing a button on your phone, your smartphone. And it brings me joy to know that I helped work on that application as well.
So donating via text message?
Yes, yes.
That's a wonderful innovation. Fantastic. We use it here a lot in South Africa as well.
Oh,
okay.
good.
Do you have more questions from the panel?
We do indeed. We have quite a few.
Okay.
Trevor.
Okay, I've got a question. So when will they give us the certificate for robotics and coding, Dr. Croak?
When will you get your certificate? Help me understand.
No, I think it's a question related just to operations. We'll handle that question a bit later.
Okay.
Thanks. Yeah, sure. We'll jump on to the next one, Shanice.
Sure. Lubaseng, if I've got that right.
Hi.
Hi.
The question I have is for the minister. And as you can see in South Africa, we have different types of ranges of situations where people live. So as you can see in the suburbs, you have many people who have access to the resources needed to be able to be connected with technology properly. Unlike in the rural areas, they don't really have as much access or as much knowledge of an education. when it comes to these kinds of things, these things that have to do with technology and stuff. How do we help the people in the rural areas are given access, or how can we do that? Is there a way that we are doing that in our country right now?
Thank you so much, Lubusang, for that question. Your question is around bridging the digital divide. Indeed, if we are to create two communities in the community of South Africa, we wouldn't be doing justice to our youth. As the department, we are involved in a program where we call it SA Connect, and that's a broadband rollout program that seeks to connect all schools or all public buildings, both in the rural, in the township, and the urban areas. But I'm sure, Libusang, you have also noticed that with COVID, it has then been proven that we may have connected all those buildings, but people may not be able to go to the buildings, which is why we are reviewing our strategy as I'm speaking to you. I just received the feasibility study that was conducted by GBSA that's to say how much are we going to need and what is it that we need to do, because now COVID has really shown us that we've got to provide connectivity where people are at, which means we should shy away from saying we're building big buildings and therefore we're putting too much infrastructure on those. We need to have a hybrid model, even for those that are in the rural areas. I'm sure you may have also heard or read where we're talking about spectrum licensing, which is a process that is going to be licensed come end of March by our regulator. We also trying to make sure that we increase coverage by providing that spectrum to those that will be successful, but imposing obligations that seeks to ensure that people in the rural areas are connected. As I said, we're rolling out SA Connect that seeks to make sure that we connect even if people are in the rural areas, and also the spectrum allocation that must enhance the capacity that the operators has. And lastly, we are embarking on a digital skills program together with the Minister of Basic Education and other partners to say, as I said, we needed to focus at lower stages. How do we make sure that even those young children that do not have access to fancy schools, that still go to mass schools, they're not deprived of an opportunity to participate in the technology space? Therefore, providing a tablet for each child at school is something that we are saying it has to be a requirement. The engagements that we're having at government level are those that we must explore if as government we need not be subsidizing people, especially for education in terms of usage of internet and not only focus on infrastructure, because I spoke of affordability earlier on, because data costs are still high, although our operators are coming on board to say, let's reduce the cost to data. So we are looking at this in all angles to say, whilst we are reviewing the curriculum, let's provide connectivity so that when we talk of introducing a particular curriculum, it's not only targeting those that are privileged in the suburbia and other areas. It has to talk to everyone. In our country, education is a basic right, and we are moving towards making internet a basic right. That's where we are, Lewis. We're trying everything that we can do, working with the private sector to make sure that we can bridge the digital divide.
Thanks, Liu Seng. That was a great question. Great question. Okay, well, I'll take one more question before I wrap things up. Shanice, do we have one more?
Let's go with Sinclair.
Okay.
My question is for Dr. Croak. What subjects did you do in high school and in university?
Oh, thanks for asking that question. That's a good question. So in high school, you know, we just have general curriculum in the public schools in the US. So the subjects that I really enjoyed a lot were math and science. I also liked English. And we had, you know, basic courses like history as well. So I enjoyed that. Then when I went to the university, I studied social psychology because I was very interested in human behavior. And then I also studied something called quantitative analysis, which is like statistics. So I actually have a doctorate in social psychology as well as quantitative analysis, which is similar to what you would call statistics.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Dr. Croak, and thank you very much, Minister Ndabeni-Abrahams. It's been an incredibly illuminating discussion today. We found out in terms of how crucial innovation is for the continent and what South Africa is doing in terms of fostering an inclusive environment, an environment whereby we can bridge the digital divide. And we've also found out from you, Dr. Croak, in terms of how you have innovated, how you've created a voice over internet protocol, and how it is being used in so many day-to-day applications that we use today, some of it which we don't even realize we're actually using. So it's been a wonderful conversation, and I thank all the young boys and girls who have been part of this conversation. Thank you for your questions. And Lindiwe, Africa Teen Geeks is a wonderful initiative. Being able to code and do all sorts of things online is an amazing skill, and it's really going to create an incredible set of leaders in the country going forward. I don't know, Lindiwe, if you'd like to have some closing remarks before I call the meeting to a wrap.
Thank you so much. I know how busy both Marianne and the minister are, so we really appreciate you taking the time to talk to our kids. And we even realized that the account we use could take a maximum of 100 participants, and the kids have been sending us messages and screaming, and parents and saying, we can't join. Yeah, but it's really been great that, to see the kids and to get to know you, Marianne. I mean, you know how much I look up to you, how much what you mean to me, and I think, and what you've meant for my career. And that's why I wanted to make sure that the kids can get to know of you as early as possible. And those that had the opportunity to engage with you, I know how that will change the way they see themselves and what they will want to do with their lives. And thank you, Minister, as well, for all the work that you are doing within the digital space. I mean, as Africa Teen Geeks, you are aware, we actually helped the Department of Basic Education to develop the coding and robotics curriculum. And in case you don't know, Minister, actually we raised the funding for that. So we actually paid to make sure that there is a coding and robotics curriculum for all the kids in South Africa. And right now we are helping as well in implementing it by raising funding to train the teachers and training them well, because you can't just take teachers and give them a 2-day training and expect that they'll be able to to teach the kids. For those who've had an ability to work with us and see the kids that we have, they are brilliant, and you can even tell by the question that they ask. And that's why a lot of teachers would not want to stand in front of a classroom if they don't feel that they're not going to end up looking stupid because a child will ask them a question they cannot answer. So we also developed the Ms. Zora platform that is also making sure what is important is keeping the data in South Africa in terms of what our kids are doing, but also supporting them in everything that they're doing through Ms. Zora, where we are building a virtual being that will serve as a personal tutor as well as a teacher's assistant. But for us, what is important is a lot of the kids don't come from good homes or educated homes or where they can even afford a tutor. So we wanted to make sure that through what Marianne was talking about, artificial intelligence, we're creating the first sort of Siri or Alexa for education that will make sure that understands the South African curriculum. So a child can ask curriculum-based specific questions and get the support and the resources that they need. So, and we're hoping that with what we're doing, these kids will be the ones that will actually be the next Marianne, so that we can also have to talk to them about innovation and what they can do, because we talk about Elon Musk being South African and living, but he's not here now. And we need to create an environment where, how do we make sure that the kids know that if I'm good and if I do well, I don't have to leave. I can still live the life that Elon Musk is living in the US while still based in Africa. So I thank you so much for all the, the passion, but also for your time. I know how expensive and your time is because of all the things that you have to do. So we appreciate it. And on behalf of my children, all the kids, and we're going to share this, we're going to turn this into a podcast, and we're going to make sure that every child that is part of Africa Teen Geeks will get to listen to this conversation. Thank you so much. And we really appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.